So I'm going to show a very simple example, but it applies to even bigger shifts, lateral shifts, posterior interferences, anterior interferences. I want to take the bite in what I call centric relation, that first hinge position closure of the mandible. So here's a patient who's been told her jaw is too big, and she and I are going to discover in our consult together that she hits this lateral incisor and then shifts her jaw forward. So when I check her in centric relation, this is what her bite is like, and she actually has overjet. But yet she can't close behind that overjet, and at this point in time when she hits this lateral incisor, she even has a posterior open bite. But if I were to be able to imagine that the lateral incisor moves forward, out of crowding, immediately her mandible would close in centric relation and her jaw would not look that small. Now, she comes in with the belief that she's been told her lower jaw is too big, and she's happy to discover that her lower jaw is actually a little bit smaller. Now, how do we get this information into our simulation? It's very, very important that we're very proactive about making sure that the patient bites in centric relation when we take the scan. Otherwise, when we get to the simulation, all the software defaults are going to be built to build an occlusion from the original position, and that's going to be all wrong. Now, I'm just going to show you in this case, most importantly, this is how I get my iTero scan bite in centric relation. I'm going to use bilateral manipulation with my hands on the mandible, my fingers under the mandible, and I'm going to be closing her in a relaxed CR. And once I feel that she gets into this position, I'm going to hold my hands very still, ask her to relax and stay still, and my staff is going to then put the, iTero wand in and take the bite for the scan. But I have my hands on her mandible the whole time to make sure that she's relaxed. Let's have a look.
Just relaxing, open, and just let it go loose. You're videoing already? Just slowly close till it first touches, and then stop. Open, just let it go loose again. It's touching now, right? Okay, so hold it like that, and we're going to take the bite, okay?
I'm just going to sneak this down the side here, Becky. Okay.
You and I will stay still, and she'll do the sneaking.
And then the same thing on the other side.
Okay, perfect. That should go. That's perfect. There, we got it.
Notice how the patient stayed so relaxed. Even when my hands were removed, she's still in centric relation. And you'll notice that I'm kind of manipulating the mandible in what we call an upper superior position of the condyle. I'm not trying to drive it backwards as much as drive it upwards, anterior superior of the condyle into the fossa. She didn't have absolute TMJ challenges. This could be very different in many different cases, but the main idea is that you'll notice that when the scan was being taken, you could see on the screen the posterior open bite. And this relates exactly to the posterior open bite that now we're going to see in our scan here of the bite. So you see these teeth are not together on the right, and they're not together on the left, and they're being held open by that one contact on the lateral. Now, the first simulation has a completely different treatment plan than mine. It's pushing all the back teeth together, erupting premolars, trying to close the open bite, erupt the anterior teeth. There's no class 3 elastic and no IPR. That's not my treatment plan. So my treatment plan is the same bite, but this time I'm not going to try to close that open bite in the back by erupting posterior teeth. My intention is to use IPR in the lower, and through the use of class 3 elastics at the same time that I'm using IPR in the lower, as I align the anterior teeth, my intention is that this interference is going to be eliminated along with good class 3 elastic. the patient will be able to experience her own bite jump. So you'll notice that a little bit later in the treatment, once she's going to be out of crossbite, I can erupt the anterior teeth. She's still going to be wearing class 3 elastics, but I'm assuming that a bite jump will occur to bring these back teeth together. You see the bite jump here. It's not the maxilla moving down. It's probably going to be the mandible moving up. But the point is, I'm not erupting posterior teeth to close that open bite. I'm assuming that if she wears enough elastics along with lower IPR and alignment of the top teeth, the interference will be eliminated. Well, we saw her what would amount to be only 4 months later after 15 aligners. There were only 17 aligners, and after 15 aligners when I saw her, she's already experienced the bite jump. Her back teeth are not apart. She has positive overjet overbite, and we went on and finished her treatment after her first set of aligners. So I really think it's important to get this CRCO shift into the right space, getting your scan to represent that posterior open bite and not try to close it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this.